Hi! I wrote a one-shot. The PDF is in the description and this video will really just be a walkthrough of it. Blooded Embroidery is a 4th level true crime inspired mystery that can be inserted into any town or city with a river. The adventure was written with D&D in mind, but with some minor adjustments you can easily translate it to another game like Vaesen, Monster of the Week, or even Call of Cthulhu. That all being said, let's talk murder. Every so often, the guards stumble into a case with odd details, suggesting the presence of a monster or the involvement of magic. This is what they call a weird one. And to deal with the issue, it tends to make more sense to hire people with a different skill set. People like monster hunters, adventurers, mages. When several bodies are found in the river with strange marks and a mysterious cause of death, a textbook weird one, they know who to call. So who's the culprit? About 2 months ago, a shape-shifting fiend arrived in town, currently taking the form of a little girl and calling herself Easily. I used the succubus stat block for it, just modifying it a little. Etherealness is replaced by invisibility, I gave her a few spells, and the draining kiss action is more flavored like some kind of proboscis-looking tongue. But mostly, nothing sexy involved. That's it, it's really just a very non-sexual, reflavored succubus. Easeline doesn't utilize lust and desire, that's not her thing, she has a complete different method. Her goal still is to corrupt, but she seeks to appeal to the kind-hearted caretakers. After all, corrupting the purest of souls is the sweetest of treats. Disguising as a little girl, she pretends to be lost or in danger, and anyone who helps her out is prone to becoming her next target. Over a few weeks, getting to know them, she incites them to perform deeds of corruption. It starts small, like stealing food for her so she can eat. Eventually though, it moves on to harming innocents after she pretends that they have hurt her. With the help of a little magic and manipulating their dreams, she paints the world as filled with terrible people who deserve what's coming to them. So it's only right to enact justice on our own. When all nurturing instinct is replaced with distrust, vigilante impulses and self-importance, it's time to feed. She takes them to her hiding place where they will meet their doom, later dumping the bodies into the river. The players, however, have no idea about all of that. They just have a bunch of bodies on their hands. And so the investigation begins. Just a couple of hours after the bodies are discovered, the party is expected in the coroner's cold and creepy basement. The coroner, Copper, is a young lad who's a lot more used to being around the dead than the living. A lover of conspiracies, he's really excited to meet adventurers and hear all about their theories. Here's all the information the party can get from Copper and from the freshly examined corpses lying present in the room with them. 4 bodies were found in the river. They didn't die by drowning, they weren't poisoned or stabbed. However, each of them has a spot on their cheek or neck where the skin has turned a dark grayish purple and from which ominous veins are sprouting, which is quite reminiscent of some life-draining spells or creatures. Second, the oldest body must have died no earlier than 2 months ago and the freshest dates about a week. This could be some kind of sacrifice or feeding pattern. Finally, the coroner brings our attention to what he finds strangest about the case. Each of the bodies was found wrapped in some bed sheets with some stones to weigh them down so they wouldn't float up to the surface. But each of the bed sheets was embroidered with beautiful patterns of birds and flowers. The first player to take a hard look at them, however, can find hidden in the flourishes the same word embroidered over and over again. It says, help. As for leads on where to investigate, there are 2. First, one of the bodies was found in acolyte robes bearing a holy symbol, and there so happens to be a temple nearby dedicated to that same deity. Second, the body wearing the ring has been identified. One of the guards recognized her as Wilderin Sage. They had arrested her about 2 weeks ago along with her husband Orion after the 2 of them initiated a pretty violent altercation with several passers-by. They mentioned that it's out of characters. The 2 were doctors and very appreciated in the community. The couple lived in a small house on Telard Lane, and the guards give the party their blessing to go investigate along with some official paperwork. The players may go for either lead, but we'll begin here with the house on Telard Lane. Once there, they will quickly find out that Orion, the husband, is also missing. The neighbors say they haven't seen the couple in over a week. Exploring the house and the doctor's cabinet teaches us that the couple really loved children. Several years ago, they tragically lost their young child. And snooping further into the house, we find out that they were maybe thinking of being parents again as they were looking into the laws of adoption in the city. However, the key element here is a small notebook left on one of the bedside tables. Orion kept a dream journal. And though most of the entries are exactly what you would expect from dreams, the more recent ones are a bit concerning. Orion recounts several dreams in which he encounters a child named Iselin, who he seems to be familiar with and even wishes to adopt. In these dreams, he attempts to protect her from people who would want to hurt her or steal from her. Orion's writing in these last entries show his changing mindset over the course of 2 weeks. After each dream, his speech becomes increasingly violent and self-important. He becomes convinced that the world is a dark place populated exclusively with cruel hearts unworthy of redemption. He vows that he and his wife, the last remaining good people, will protect Iselin from the monsters in this cruel world. If they follow the lead of the holy symbol, the party makes it to a temple and orphanage dedicated to a local deity. The head priestess, Zulanir, can confirm that the holy symbol belonged to Otto, a former acolyte. He never came back to collect his belongings after quitting and is nowhere to be found. While she's genuinely shaken to hear of his death, she admits that their relationship had really deteriorated. Otto was running the orphanage wing, and the children loved him, past tense. Well, because he's dead, but not only. He was a really caring man, and while he never had children of his own, he had all the right instincts and was the best possible person to run an orphanage. But in the last few weeks before he left, most of the kids were actually really mad at him. Otto would never hurt a child, but he gradually and quickly lost faith and became quite mean. He was calling the kids ungrateful, taking their toys away from them, or failing to show up for his duties at the temple. The kids are still a bit shaken by it, and if Otto hadn't quit, Zolanir would definitely have fired him. Speaking of the children, do you remember the embroidery patterns on the sheets that the bodies were wrapped with? The players can quickly spot the exact same style of embroidery on some of the children's clothing, toys, or blankets. They can speak with the children as long as they do so with caution. If they upset the kids, they will have to face the wrath of the entire temple. This is a good opportunity to use a puzzle like the Dragon Potion. You can find it either in the PDF or I'll put the video somewhere. But this is what we learned. The children have theories as to why Otto became very mean, and it all has to do with that one kid. They don't know how the two met. She definitely doesn't live at the orphanage, but there's this little girl that he keeps hanging out with. The children say that after the two of them met, Otto didn't care about being their friend anymore and only cared about her. He was always comparing them to her or stealing their toys so he could give them to her, and then he just left without even saying goodbye. One of the kids is actually a bit spooked when the topic comes up. He did go confront the little girl, but when he came up to her, she disappeared into thin air. He thinks she's a ghost, but of course the others don't really believe him. As for the embroidery, that's an easy question to answer. They're made by an old woman named Ninette, who's really nice to children. She used to bring toys and gifts like embroidered blankets, but hasn't been here in a while. Either case, she lives in an old watermill by the river, and the kids can give the players directions to get there. And this is where we get into the thick of it. Hopefully your players are ready, because old Ninette's watermill also happens to be Iselin's hiding place. The party makes their way to the old watermill, and things are strange. The door is locked, the shutters closed, and even though there is light clearly peeking through, no one's answering the door. So who even is old Ninette? The old woman was one of Iselin's first targets when arriving in town. It turns out the old lady's a lot sharper than Iselin had anticipated, and she quickly found out that something was off. Once Ninette was aware of the fiend's true nature, it was really impossible to corrupt her soul. But the old watermill, this house right by the river, perfect for laying low and getting rid of bodies? It was the perfect location for Iselin's hideout, and keeping the old woman around to torment her for fun is just a bonus. Ninette has since been a prisoner in her own home. She is charmed by Iselin most of the time and closely monitored when she isn't. When the characters make their way into the house, either by picking the locks or breaking the windows, meeting her is going to be unsettling. Ninette barely reacts as they break into her house, which by the way is invaded by a terrible stench. Seated on her armchair, she's embroidering. Her smile is wide, but her eyes look terrified. When directly spoken to, she's polite and quite cheerful. But as soon as an upsetting matter is brought up, the mask cracks. Her smile suddenly dies down, or a single tear escapes from her eye, and immediately she returns to being cheerful as if nothing happened. Unless they can break the enchantment where she could finally cry for help and tell them everything, talking to her is not gonna be fruitful. Ninette is screaming for help inside. There's only one thing she's been able to do in hopes that rescue would come. Ever since Iselin took over her home and her life, Ninette's mind has found one small way to break through, as she embroiders over and over again the word help in patterns of birds and flowers. And it worked! Hopefully the party is here now, because Iselin never noticed the distress calls hidden in the sheets that she was wrapping the bodies in. But right now, even if the characters point out to Ninette the word that she's sewing, she brushes it off, as if it were just an absent-minded mistake. If talking to Ninette doesn't give them more information, there's still a lot that the players can find out by just exploring the house, like shards of glass in the fireplace. In a moment of respite from Iseline's charm, Ninette tried to throw a bottled message in the river, but was caught. Though the bottle ended in the fire, there's a few words that were spared by the embers, speaking of corruption and mind control. And I think we can up the tension a bit more. When opening the door to the larder, a week-old corpse falls into the room. Iseline stored him there just to torment Ninette. He wears the same ring as Wilderin Sage, the doctor who lived on Telard Lane. This is her husband Orion, who has, it seems, suffered the same fate. At this point, the party should have all the incentive they need. It's time to put an end to this. Iseline is by default in the basement, but there are many reasons why she could come into play before the players even get down there. Getting in by breaking the windows would definitely alert her that strangers have entered the house. Or if they manage to break the charm on Ninette, Iseline will know. And if she was alerted, she will prepare herself. On top of that, there's one more thing she wants to do before making her escape. She knows she's been found out, and there is a long journey ahead until she finds the next town where she can do it all over again. An uncorrupted soul is better than none at all, so she'll try to get one more for the road and go drain Ninette. It's good to keep track of Iseline's location and stealth rolls as the party explores the house. But since a confrontation is very likely to happen, here are some tactics that Iseline can use. 1. She remains invisible whenever she can and uses that to sneak on her victim. 2. She's got some spells like command or suggestion and will not hesitate to use them to enchant a party member, either creating a distraction or getting them to attack their companions on her behalf. 3. As for Ninette, under Iseline's charm, she's going to do everything she can to protect the little girl. She doesn't really fight per se, but she begs the players to stop attacking, or she gets in the way to sabotage them. 4. In the same way, using the spell Friends can dissuade someone from attacking her by making them believe that yeah, she's just an innocent little girl and this is all a big misunderstanding. 5. And if all else fails, Iseline can just grab Ninette and threaten to kill her if the party doesn't let her escape. The way things are looking, everyone can tell that a single attack would immediately kill the old woman, and the GM gets to see how all of that unfolds. Perhaps Iseline is killed, but Ninette's life is also lost in the process. Or maybe Ninette was saved, but Iseline managed to escape and now holds a grudge against the players. In the days following, the 2 remaining bodies that were found in the river are identified as a schoolteacher and a toy maker. The party is well paid by the guards, even more so if they manage to kill Iseline. But regardless, Ninette refuses to stay in her own home any longer. The temple takes her in, and her recovery is slow but steady. Actually, she finds solace in the children, who themselves find a new anchor in the old woman. She eventually permanently takes over Otto's functions and becomes a new head of the orphanage. As for the players, she would gladly give them the deed to her house. One sure thing is she's never going back there anyway, so it's free real estate. And that's the end of this one. I hope you will like this little adventure, and if you run it, please let me know how it went. I really enjoy writing, and feedback is the best way to learn, so I really appreciate it. On that note, good evening, and may the fiends never invade your dreams.